All right, Niloy. So the situation as it is now, Ukraine is heavy resisting or is busy resisting the Russian invasion. They're fighting for Kiev, which is up north.
Kiev, no?
Kiev, sorry, up
Did you just call it
northwest.
Kiev?
I think in Ukraine, I think it's Kiev, no?
I have no clue.
Yeah, you don't know, bro. So don't make fun
I
of
don't
me.
know. It's just like all my life I've grown up calling it Kiev, but yeah.
Yeah, well, Kiev. And in the east, the Ukrainian army is surprisingly holding up extraordinarily well so far. In the south, the Russia came in through Crimea, and they're still holding back quite hard. But what I wanted to say is like the situation is kind of like a living hell for the citizens, which is my main interest.
Yeah.
People between the ages of men between the ages of 18 and 60 are not allowed to leave. You cannot leave and become a refugee. You're forced to stay. You're forced to stay in Ukraine.
Is it like also strong in the borders where like they make sure that you
And the military has called on anyone who's able to. They actually got away with the age limit of 60 as well to fight, and they're pulling men away from their families and out of cars if they see you.
Yeah.
Then they pull you out and they say you have to fight.
Yeah, but surely if you're 60, like there's no way you can fight.
No, until 60 you fight, bro.
Yeah, but like when I'm at 60, like I can barely imagine me fighting now. So when I'm 60, there's no way I'm able to fight.
The Russian government ordered people to make Molotov cocktails at home.
Yeah.
And one of the articles I read now on the way here, it was that in the centers of the bigger cities, you're seeing women making Molotov cocktails in the centers.
Okay.
Trying to supply like homemade grenades.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about surely you can't fight when you're 60, I'm telling you anyone who can is contributing in any way possible. And that's how Kiev is, or Ukraine is holding up so strongly.
Yeah.
Surprisingly strong. But in any case, I think the message to be taken is even in Europe, when war breaks out on your soil, no, you don't have a choice but to fight.
Yeah.
Whether because you feel compelled to do so since people are invading your home, or because the government forces you to. And of course, Ukraine's not going to be able to win this war, but they're resisting.
Without the help of us, at least.
Yeah.
Like the other European countries. But
Yeah.
do you reckon that other European countries are going to do anything about it? Are they going to send their men?
No, we're not going to send our men because that would be World War.
Because we're scared that it's going to spill over and then it's going to become a big fucking world war, no?
No, if any Russia said that if anyone tries to help Ukraine, that they will face consequences unlike anything history has ever seen before.
Oh, wow.
So that alludes to one thing and one thing only, which is a big nuke.
Yeah.
I mean, or it could be hyperbole and he's just talking about war, but still.
Yeah.
It's very clear that if you send soldiers or anything to help Ukraine, you're immediately at war with Russia.
Yeah. But do you think that if it does get to that stage and like Putin it does throw a nuke, do you think we can get like very nuclear very soon? Or do you think the world leaders are like smart enough not to do that?
I think it would become very nuclear very quickly. I don't think our world leaders are that smart.
That would be fair enough, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the good news is that, they're resisting, but it's also kind of bad news. I mean, my brother called me as well when because he saw the messages I sent him and he said, I mean, who's giving out this order? Because there was some question at some point if kids were allowed to join the military too. Because there was a tweet that said there's no more age limits to recruits. But it didn't clarify if that meant under 18s as well or if it just meant the under 60 age limit. But my brother's like, who's giving these orders in Ukraine? Like, do they really want to give like that many lives of civilians and military alike to defend themselves against an invader that's obviously going to win in the long run?
Yeah.
And it seems like they do. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it is quite heroic and brave, the way that they're going out. Like, I don't know if you've seen all the posts afterwards where, like, there's been boats or something that's, like, straight up said, fuck you, because Russians were, like...
Yeah, there was a tiny island.
Yeah.
Of it's, like, the smallest island you've ever seen. So it's more like a military base on water. But there was 13 people there. And the Russian fleet was coming in. And they said, okay, surrender. And they said, fuck you.
Yeah, oh no, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, and then they got bombed.
Yeah, and then they got bombed. But,
and all 13 massacred. And there was also a Ukrainian who... so there's a huge... Crimea is what Russia annexed in 2014. And there's a huge bridge that goes from Crimea into Russia. And they were going to use this to bring their military through. and the soldiers were supposed to blow up the bridge, the Ukrainian ones, as they were leaving.
Yeah.
There was not enough time to do it remotely.
Yeah.
So one guy sacrificed himself.
Do you know his name?
No, I don't know his name.
Alright, but let's just look up some of these names and put them in the
in the description or something.
Yeah,
but you can also read it in the news. I mean,
True,
it's everywhere. So that's heroic but really tragic.
Yeah.
And then you have the Ghost of Kiev, which I think is the sickest one.
What is the Ghost of Kiev, by the way? Is it just one plane going around?
It's one plane, one guy in the plane, who so far, I think the last time I checked, has shot down 7 planes on his own.
But do we know who this guy is or no?
The Ukrainian military knows who he is, but they aren't releasing his name.
He's just that good.
I mean, bro, it's insanely hard to be in a fighter jet and shoot down another fighter jet. It's almost impossible because they've gotten so fast.
Like nothing,
yeah, and he's gotten 7. And you see how he hits them in the air,
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. I don't know, like, what type of thinking and, like, physics you must have in your head and calculations to be able to hit that plane.
You know those, like, in the movies, you have, like, a secret weapon that you're just hiding away. It almost feels like that's, like, Ukraine's secret weapon. Yeah. Anyway, if they win, which I'm hoping.
I think Ukraine's secret weapon is simply hating the Russians to their core and becoming ultra-nationalist, where, like, they're fighting like nothing else.
Yeah.
And Russia now has lost more people than they expected. And I don't know if, like, yesterday morning, for example, I told in the group chat that I thought Kiev was going to fall in a few hours. Because yesterday morning, they had already reached the north of Kiev. But not for some reason, but because the Ukrainians are resisting so hard, they still haven't lost.
Yeah.
They still haven't gotten the city. And the president remains in the city too.
Yeah.
All the leaders, which is something you don't see often nowadays.
But the president is also fighting, is what I heard.
Ish. Yeah. I don't know how true those rumors are, but like he's definitely there and like part of the military operation. I don't know if he's in the front line shooting with a weapon, but
who knows? But what were your predictions again from last video? Like,
I predicted they were gonna invade, but nowhere near the scale of what they're doing now.
Okay,
that they were gonna take the eastern republics that declare themselves independent, and protect those and maybe a bit more. And I thought Putin was going to calculate, every inch you move towards the west becomes exponentially more costly.
Yeah.
Because every inch you move west, the people hate you more and more, and you have less and less support.
Yeah.
And it's extremely difficult to hold areas where people don't support you militarily.
Yeah.
And you can see why if moms are making grenades, know. And so I thought they would push west, and wherever they managed to, like, they would give a decent push, and wherever it happened to stop, that's where they would put the new border.
Okay.
But instead they're going for all-out invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah. But I also heard that like Russians aren't making that much progress. Is that true?
That's true. See, when they went to Kiev, because I was listening to mostly on the radio, and I woke up yesterday morning and I heard there was a bunch of casualties in Ukraine. I heard they were telling everyone to fight, like literally everyone, and they were forcing people to fight. So that means they were desperate. And I heard they're almost in Kiev. They're coming from the south and from the east. So I thought, okay, it's almost over. This can surely only go on a few more hours. But actually, there's 2 things which is weird. One is that Russia hasn't used the majority of their forces yet. They're still in the east for some reason, like in East Ukraine / Russia. So they haven't broken through, but they haven't really been like putting their all either. And then the Ukrainians have been defending so much. So yeah, Russia has lost, I think, around 5,000 people already.
Yeah.
Soldiers.
Like at the first day, it was 450, but then I guess the numbers increased slowly.
Yeah, I heard this throughout the day today. I heard 4,000, 4,500. Yeah. I imagine right now, but when we're recording a Saturday evening, I'm going to try to get this out by Sunday.
Saturday evening, 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, things may change, of course. By the time this is out, they probably will have Kiev.
Yeah. Where do you see this going? Like, how do you think this?
Wait. Let's. I got like a little story I want to go through.
Yeah.
And I'll get to there.
Yeah.
But I think for people who might not know about it, I would just want to recap the 2 views.
Yeah.
So, in the West, the view is that Ukraine became a country in 1991 after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and Ukraine experienced the atrocities of the Soviet Union, which were not nice, and they wanted to become their own independent country. And they themselves have been, this is the Western view, that Ukrainians have been moving away from Russia because life under Putin is not that nice. So, of course, it's understandable that people turn away from that and have been wanting to become part of the West. And then Russia is punishing them for that and hates them for that and is neglecting the sovereign right of Ukraine to decide what they want to become. Now, the Eastern point of view is that Ukraine, for a long time, was part of the Russian Empire and the USSR, which is almost the same thing. Well, not really, just an ideology shift. But Ukraine is actually the home of where Russia and both Ukraine started. Kiev is actually the home. It's where the first Russo king accepted Christianity, and out of that came the whole Russian identity. Mm-hmm. And so the Eastern view is that they have built up Ukraine. They have shared history with Ukraine. And after investing and protecting Ukraine and just as part of its country, all of a sudden they lose the USSR. They have to give away Ukraine and they make their own country. But at least they were friends and cooperative. And then in 2014, not only did Ukraine turn away from Russia, now they're trying to join NATO and becoming direct enemies of Russia. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that Russia cannot accept, especially when you consider Russia has 144 million people. So when we're talking about this huge invasion of a smaller country, I mean, that's true, but Ukraine is an enormous country. It's like the third biggest country in Europe or something. Mm. And it has like 44 million people. So you can imagine having a country on your border that went from being your friend to your enemy with a population of 44 million is an enormous geopolitical threat.
And I don't know if you've seen that meme, but like Ukraine Twitter posted it themselves, where it's like biggest, you have migraines, biggest headache, and like Russia being your neighbor, the biggest headaches.
Yeah, and they also had like another tweet where they retweeted something Putin said, and they said toxic X. So
whoever's running that Twitter account is a
genius. Yeah, and then they had like Stalin with his hand on Putin as if he was a little kid,
Yeah, and then they also made the. I don't know if it was they had this image where it was like Hitler tapping the head of.
I thought it was Stalin, or was it Hitler?
No, that was Hitler. Shit! The stash was Hitler.
Yeah, but Stalin
or was it Stalin?
Yeah, because
actually no, let me look it up. You keep talking, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, but that's like the 2 points of view. So of course the Russians are not justified in just because you feel threatened from a sovereign country, you're not allowed to go in and bomb it like that. But yeah, I mean, what the Russians are saying is that. They're the ones that Ukraine has been quite aggressive towards the Russian separatist held areas in the east and in Crimea, which is hard to verify. I mean, I don't necessarily trust the Western media that much, but I trust the Russian media even less. And I haven't seen enough proof of that being true. So this is a mostly offensive war on the Russian side. Yeah, so I see this.
100% that's Hitler. It looks nothing like Stalin.
Yeah, that's Hitler. Yeah, that's Hitler. Okay, man. That's crazy though. But the main goal of Russia seems to be denazification and demilitarization and neutrality. So neutrality we covered. If they can't make them, pro-Russia, at least they'll be neutral. Demilitarization, because it's incredibly dangerous for them to have an enemy with 44 million people that's heavily militarized.
Yeah.
So they want to make it a buffer state again by force, which, one hand, maybe it wasn't a good idea to militarize Ukraine, but like ever since they have signaled they wanted to go towards the west, Russia's been attacking them, so they kind of needed a military.
It kind of makes sense, they would have done good with the military.
Yeah, so if you wanted to demilitarize Ukraine, maybe don't attack them, because it's like fucking 8-9 years now that they've been attacking them. But my problem here is that I think the West, in this conflict, it's really blowing up in our faces. We are our own worst enemies, because he's talking about demilitarization, and in fact we militarized Ukraine. We were part of that, so that's true. Denazification. Now, at this point, look, the idea that Ukraine is full of Nazis and run by Nazis is an extraordinary exaggeration.
But is that what Putin said?
Yes, he's saying that the government is full of Nazis, drug dealers, and terrorists.
Yeah.
I don't know why you included drug dealers, bro. What the fuck? Sorry, drug addicts.
Addicts?
Yeah, not dealers. But
what's wrong with drug addicts?
Yeah, what the fuck, bro? Maybe if Putin, you smoked a joint, you would have chilled out.
What you got with us drug addicts, man?
Us.
Not us. Other people around us, not us.
Yeah, we live in Cryness. We can't help it.
We live in Cryness. We can't help it. It's so we're surrounded.
Yeah. But I mean, I think I told you last time, like, the West has... okay, so he says denazification, right? And what he's going to find when he eventually takes Ukraine is legitimate factions of the military who are legitimate neo-Nazis who have been legitimately funded by the Ukrainian government and the West. And of course, that doesn't represent the whole government and all of Ukraine. In fact, it's a very small amount. But that little bit of truth is something that we have sowed and is never discussed now in the media nowadays. Like, every time it's brought up, this argument of denazification, people say, oh, it's an exaggeration and stupid. But we still don't give the background fact that we actually have been Nazifying Ukraine. And so, we didn't need to do that. So we didn't need to give Russia that excuse. And I think if we're going to be angry at Russia for using this terrible excuse...
When you say we, who do you mean by we?
We, I mean USA.
Yeah.
And then the rest of NATO, which tends to follow in the USA's footsteps.
So would you say it's mostly USA to blame?
Mainly USA, but I think Europe is way too... I don't know, like... Yeah... Way too beta.
Europe kind of feels like a pushover, It's
we're a pushover. We're an absolute pushover.
It's like whatever USA says, we go.
It wasn't our idea to arm Nazis, let's say, but we definitely have nothing against it. So the UK is not really. When I say Europe, I don't mean the UK anymore. They're their own thing, but they do whatever, like the US does.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then again, Russia says you can't trust the Western media because they're full of lies, and so he can create his own counter-narrative.
Yeah.
And that's precisely true. The Western media has been full of lies. Not this time.
This time, I have to say, I'm quite shocked and quite surprised at how good the coverage has been.
And I am as well. Well, not surprised, but I'm really happy.
Yeah.
But let's say, I think the best way to explain how Western media bias works is through seeing the coverage of Ukraine.
Yeah.
You see the potential that Western media has in being humane, in being investigative, and in just being really good at their job, They cover everything from hour to hour. They show pictures of the humans. They're very, but the problem is that, this whole narrative, they had videos on BBC, from months ago of just average Ukrainians living in fear of Russia, And I was thinking back then, imagine if every time Israel was about to go into Palestine, they sent a BBC reporter to show the daily life of a Palestinian. I mean, that never happens. And the Palestinians, they're explaining how they're afraid and how this is ruining their lives. I mean, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
At least not in this framing. And so all of these things that we see now in the Western media, which is perfectly good, and I support it, and I think it's been amazing coverage of the crisis. Those things are not there when we're the ones invading and doing the aggressive things.
Yeah.
So when you see Ukraine and how horrible the situation is there, understand that we've done the same in countries like Iraq, Afghanistan, and Palestine.
Yeah, but the coverage is just not being that good because
we're the ones being Russia.
That? Yeah, exactly.
And it will make us seem like Russia. Yeah. And so, that's the media bias. But thankfully, when it's our enemies doing it, we still at least have the old institutions left, which are allowed to roam free. So again, there I think we're our own worst enemies because all Putin has to say is the Western media is lying, and this time he happens to be wrong, but 9 out of 10 times
it wouldn't be,
Yeah, so that doesn't help the Russians decide, or it doesn't help them figure out what's going on.
I do have to say though, with Putin though, there is a bit of hypocrisy of him calling out NATO for doing all of this stuff, but then the hypocrisy of him being in power for this long, him actually following his own country's rules is a bit ridiculous as well,
Yeah, and so I think both sides are hypocrites, and that's why they can't really put each other in line,
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing where I think we're our own worst enemy is America has been warning that this would happen, and even some of the people that I usually trust the most in politics, for example, Hassan, said that it was never going to happen.
Okay.
Even though the American and the British intelligence were warning of it fully, a lot of people didn't believe it. Ukrainians themselves didn't believe it. And part of the reason is because the American intelligence lies all the time.
Yeah.
So now we're in a situation, I'll give you a perfect example. In 2008, they said the dictator of Iraq had nuclear weapons and he was going to use them against the USA. and they used that to justify invading Iraq, and they never found any weapons.
Yeah.
So USA like does the biggest of lies all the time, especially for war, and they usually just quote the intelligence, not a specific person.
Yeah. Oh, bro, and but I'm so sorry, but fucking Joe Biden as well. He's handling the situation so terribly.
He's horrible, man.
Horrible.
He's horrible. And so when Joe Biden's there going like, hey, we're about to have war break out in Europe. This is going to go global.
Yeah.
And Ukraine needs our help now. We were not united as a Western front. We could have done pre-sanctions or something because we simply, even though we have to go along with what the Americans are saying, we don't really believe them anymore. And so, again, I feel like if we had not done all these horrible things before and like been the boy who cried wolf, when the actual situation comes, we could have reacted better, you know, with more confidence.
We need new world leaders. We need new world leaders.
Absolutely,
like us,
bro. Absolutely, bro.
Okay, maybe not me.
Absolutely.
But you guys.
No, see, look, if I represented the Russian side, right?
Yeah.
And you represented the Western side.
Okay.
I think me and you could have genuinely figured it out.
Oh, 100%.
Because I understand Russia's concerns enough, you know? And I feel like you are someone I can negotiate with, and then we would have reached some sort of conclusion, you know?
Yeah. But I think the world leaders have a problem with negotiating skills. They lack it, bro.
Yeah, well, diplomacy has failed.
Yeah.
And diplomacy is dead. And it's been dead for a while. Because no one really gives a fuck about diplomacy anymore. No one's doing actual diplomacy.
Yeah. Wait, actually, is it the Netherlands that said that they're going to stop giving flowers to the Russians or something?
I don't know.
It's like, you know how the Dutch have this thing of like handing out flowers to the other countries in Italy, or like in
Italy?
In Europe, in Europe.
No, bro, I've never heard of this.
Because I don't know if you remember Martijn.
You have a flower.
I do.
Yeah.
But Martijn, his family used to always get or deliver flowers from the Netherlands to the Vatican whenever they had like special occasions or something like that.
Yeah.
And the Netherlands has kind of this thing where wherever they have an embassy, they also send flowers to that country.
I'm sure they start sending flowers then,
because they literally said we're gonna stop sending Russians flowers.
They also said they're gonna sanction the fuck out of Putin. So,
but it's just a funny thing, you know. It's like, what's flowers gonna do?
Yeah. And by the way, let me be clear. I should have said this in the beginning. Whenever I talk about a country like Russia, for example, I don't mean Russia as in the whole country and the population.
You mean Putin?
Mostly. Very much Putin. And when I say the West, the same thing goes, because I don't think a lot of us agree with what our leaders are doing, especially not in Russia. So, yeah. But I want to talk about like the fact that diplomacy failed. And I would say the first point that I have for why diplomacy doesn't work anymore, which is a serious issue. Because if diplomacy doesn't work anymore, even in Europe, then that means that the only alternative is war.
Or socialism.
Yeah, I guess. I'm always down for socialism. But I think I have like 3 points for why our diplomacy failed. And first is our own hypocrisy. So I'm going to use Israel as an example. And this is not because I want to whine about Israel all day. You know, I've done that in another podcast.
By the way, no, never mind.
But I just know the Israeli situation the best, you know.
Yeah.
And so and it's really atrocious how like line for line Putin is using the same lines that Israel uses all the time. So I'll give an example. So the making of new countries, which is what Putin did at the beginning of the war, of the invasion, he declared the two eastern republics in eastern Ukraine independent. So we've done that with Israel. And the way he did it was practically the same. Throughout history, you send people there from your own country. And then eventually they start building settlements and they start living there. And then when the time comes, you say, well, now you guys need a state. So we're going to declare your country so you can protect it and we can protect you legally. So we did that. Except Russia at least still recognizes Ukraine as a country, and nobody has ever recognized Palestine as a country.
Yeah.
So we're even one step worse there. And then the reaction once you make new countries, when you feel threatened, as the Eastern Republic said they did, and as the Israelis say they did. So whenever Palestinians start arming themselves, what Israel does is they call it mowing the lawn. So you just destroy everything in sight, and it's particularly military bases, but you don't care if you kill civilians on the way. And now what Russia is doing is what they're calling, and they're branding it the same way, peacekeeping missions, so it's not an invasion. Exactly how Israel brands it. And as well, they felt threatened by Ukraine, so they went in, they destroyed their military, and they killed civilians along the way. So that's the exact same one for one. And then this one really almost made me laugh in a horrible way. But Russia started claiming that the Ukrainian military is hiding in civilian areas on purpose, and that's why they're killing civilians. The exact same line that Israel uses again and again and again.
Damn.
And now, when I hope people realize when it's our Western ally in Ukraine, the reason that military and civilians tend to mix in war is because you have to fight around certain stronghold areas like cities and structures and airports and shit, you know? You don't fight over cornfields and in the cornfield always, you know? It's about the cities. So
Tactics 101.
When you're getting invaded, you retreat into a city, and when civilians start fighting as well, then it's going to be an urban warfare. And you can't use that as an excuse to bomb a city, I don't think. But again, China, like the West, we support, and we always support both in the media and officially the lines of Israel. Mm-hmm. And now when Russia says the same lines, we can see how stupid it is and how, you know. But I think the main reason is because, I don't know if we're more sympathetic towards Ukrainians because we feel like the European and white or something. But yeah. And so that's like 1-to-1. And if like Russia was to follow the Western example, what they would do now when they take over Ukraine is build a wall around Ukraine, starve them to death, and then make them second-class citizens and slowly build settlements of Russians inside Ukraine and slowly but surely take over land and everything. And, you know, have a two-class system where the Russians would get access to water, food, and financial systems while the Ukrainians would not, and would be allowed to be killed at any checkpoint at any given time. So far, they have been acting more humanely and in a less aggressive manner that the West tends to do. Yeah. And so when we tell them that you're breaking international law by taking over another country's territory, and they literally said this in our faces, said, no, you guys do this all the time. And it's true. Israel has taken land from Palestine, and only Palestine, Syria, which is an undoubtedly sovereign country. Yeah. The Golan Heights. And so when we say, hey, you're breaking international law, nobody cares. Because we're the number one offenders. Yeah. So that's point one for why diplomacy doesn't work. Our word means nothing. We also refuse to negotiate. So again, if we came to a negotiation table and we had to actually negotiate, that means that you would have to give something up. Yeah. And last episode you said, oh, easy, just make sure that Ukraine doesn't join NATO. Yeah. Yeah, but that's something that the West refused to do. Yeah. So when we say diplomacy, our form of diplomacy is sending these circle jerk people to the Ukraine, to the UN. Yeah. Where they can all stand around Russia and tell them that they're bad, and then we go home again. Or we'll send Macron or someone, or Joe Biden to Russia, and he'll tell them, hey, listen, we don't agree with what you're doing. We're not willing to concede in anything. You should stop, and if you attack us, we'll kill you. I mean, that's not a way of serious diplomacy.
And I mean, the terms that they tried to give each other were also kind of not that nice for anyone. Well, I mean, they were always biased, or like not biased, but like they were always favored towards whoever made the deal or offered the deal first.
Yeah. I mean, serious diplomacy, which we haven't seen again in like 50 years, I think, would have been to go to Russia. And I thought of two options myself, and I'm just a rando, you know? But one would have been, for example, when Denmark and Germany had a dispute over their border, which happens from time to time between countries, just like Ukraine is now with Russia, what we did is we elected democratically where we wanted the border to be. So everyone got to vote, and wherever the majority switched from I want to be in Denmark to I want to be in Germany, that's where the border was. So we could have offered Russia, okay, why don't we do a vote, for example, you know? And then that would probably mean conceding a bit of land from Ukraine, but that's a way of doing it. Another one would have been, look, Ukraine's not going to be part of NATO and they can maintain neutrality, you know? Yeah. Because we don't want war and we don't want Ukrainians to die either, as they're doing now. Yeah. So we did not use like diplomacy. We just like doing the show of diplomacy where we send people to talk in the UN with no real results. And then another reason diplomacy doesn't work is because it's usually spearheaded by America, who openly wants to undermine Russia. Yeah. So they're not a good person that you can feel safe to talk to, you know?
Let's go back to communism, bro.
And bargain with.
Times were simpler back then.
Yeah. And then you have Europe, which is just either with America or their pushovers the other way, like Germany. Yeah. who was like for the last 8 years pursued a policy of becoming friends with Russia instead.
Would it be funny if like Germany
Switches
for some
sides.
reason, you know, for some reason, God knows how, just like, you know, I've had enough of this US bullshit. I'm my own person now, and then
oh fuck, dude,
shit takes a turn, you know.
That would be the ultimate, bro. That Germany turns around in our faces, bro.
Yeah, but then if Germany had the balls to do that, then it's Russia, Germany, and then probably a lot of European countries would follow Germany as well, and then it's like a huge big stand against America, and then what the fuck is America gonna do?
Yeah, then we switch to the Russian side, but then we have to join communism. Oh wait, that's a win-win, bro. No, unfortunately, the wars nowadays are so empty that they're not even about ideology. You know? The last World War we had in the Cold War was about ideology. Mm-hmm. You know, the idea of Nazism versus anti-Nazism, which can be a few things. And then the Cold War is communism versus capitalism. Now it's just my riches versus your riches.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And for Ukraine, it's freedom, which I understand. But for the West, it's not freedom. It's, you know, protection and my riches more than anything. You asked me about the future, bro.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? How do you think this is going to proceed? This is, in a way, a bit your prediction. Like, what are you going to predict for the future?
So, I think the future, I was expecting Ukraine to fall faster. I had heard that they really wanted to fight, but I was a bit doubtful. I thought maybe the Western media was propping that up a bit. Turns out they really, really do want to fight. Mm-hmm. But Russia's going to win eventually. I think... if anyone's like a bit of a military nerd out there, I'll just say that I think they're going to use the troops from the north, not the ones that are going to Kiev, but the ones that came a little more eastward, and the troops from Crimea to encircle in a panzer movement the troops in the east, and they still have not, and they're still waiting for those troops to get further to launch the main invasion from the east, which is going to be like 100,000 strong, or it could be, because they have like 100,000 troops at least stationed around Ukraine, and only like 20,000 I think have been actively engaged. So it's really not that much yet. And once they mount this total offensive, then they're going to sweep through Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that they're waiting to do that is because they hoped the invasion up north that was going only for Kiev was enough to take the capital, so they wouldn't have to do this more long, bloody process.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're going to go for the first option there, which is to unite all the forces together and do one push and sweep through all of Ukraine. So, and once that happens, unfortunately, I have no clue what Putin really wants to do with Ukraine. I think he's going to kill the president.
Straight up.
I think the president is in fact the number one target.
Okay.
And Putin blames him personally for taking Ukraine away from Russia and towards Europe. And I don't see any other way out of there.
Oh damn.
For him.
Yeah.
And the US has already, these motherfuckers in the US, they offered to extract the president, to do an extraction mission. So not to get involved, but do an extraction mission, which could if the US went in to take the president, that could trigger World War III, and for what? To save one guy.
Yeah.
And once you save the president, all those troops are gonna stop fighting, no?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because this president is out there in the front lines, apparently.
We haven't seen videos, but apparently.
Yeah, apparently. And I think that's part of the reason Ukraine is fighting so hard. Yeah. That the president is in the city, and he knows he's going to die when they lose. And yet he's still fighting.
Yeah, but surely he's fighting, but surely he can't be fighting the front lines. He's fighting
No, I think in the back lines.
100%. Because if the president dies, it's over.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually thinking, because they were handing out guns in Kiev to any citizen who wanted it. Mm-hmm. Which, think of that image, by the way. You didn't even have to be part of the military. You just ask for a weapon and you get one. Which, by the way, would you, if in Amsterdam they're like, yo, we're handing out weapons.
Oh, 100% we're running out.
Here's what I was thinking, no?
Yeah.
Let's say they come to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I'm going to collect my weapon and I'm instantly running to Denmark, but with my new weapon.
Oh.
But then I don't know if the Danish guards will let me in.
Yeah, exactly. They won't.
They won't?
No.
So then I have to leave my weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, fuck.
Yeah.
Shit.
Because like the first thing I'm doing is like I'm getting a gun. I'm going to Groningen, bro. For reasons.
For reasons that we should not disclose.
But luckily, Netherlands is not handing out guns, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But if you were in Kiev, what you would see right now is average day citizens getting guns.
Yeah.
And then what I want to know is, because apparently they're still organizing, do they put the citizen battalion in the front or behind the army? And I think that's a horrible choice.
That is, yeah.
Military planning teaches you that you should put the lesser experience in the front.
So they're like the shield and then they outpost from behind.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what they're doing.
I hope not.
And then you have the military, and then you have Zelensky with his pistol, whatever.
I think my old roommate from last year, he might have been from Ukraine, but I cannot remember. No. Was Ukraine in the Euros?
Like the Euro Cup?
Yeah. No, the UEFA Euro League.
I guess so. No, it's part of Europe.
Yeah. Because if so, then I think he might have been from Ukraine.
I don't remember them playing, but
I don't remember his name at all either. This is so bad, but I should probably check up.
No, but I mean, I have one homie from Ukraine as well, but it's really devastating, bro. And like the reason that this war means more than other wars is because in modern day, like the way we've set it up, wars outside of European countries don't really count.
Yeah.
Wars outside of Russia and China don't really count.
Yeah.
But this one is in Europe, so this one counts. Yeah. In a way, this is the first war we've had in a long time. Yeah.
I hope it de-escalates as soon as possible, bro.
Yeah, but it's Russia actually offered yesterday to have talks with the Ukrainian president about surrendering, and he said he would consider it. But
at this point, like, it is probably best if they surrender, no?
Yeah, my brother's line of thought, I think, is he's more pacifist than I am. I mean, I'm also pacifist, but he says it's not worth fighting if you know you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
And if you're putting guns in the hands of civilians, people who've never used them before, kids maybe even,
Okay, but here's my question, right? So at the end of this, how do they retrieve all these guns? Because not everyone's going to give the guns back.
Yeah, no, that's the other thing.
That's also a big issue after this war.
Yeah, and think about like what we've done to Ukraine as the West, We militarized them and we Nazified them a bit. Not to the extent that Russia is saying.
Yeah.
But we did Nazify them. If Ukraine was somehow to win this, now you would have a country that has a problem of neo-Nazis who are armed to the teeth and civilians who are armed to the teeth and a general feeling of resentment towards Russia. I mean, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah.
That's not a good solution, and that's how you end up with fucked up countries like Iran, Syria,
America.
I'm more saying like when we intervene in Afghanistan, like these are all groups that we at some point armed, and then when you arm a group, and especially groups who want to fight tend to be more authoritarian and right wing.
Side note.
I
don't know if you've heard, but like apparently the Queen's got COVID, and some rumors say that she's actually passed away.
No way.
So it's rumored that like she died apparently.
Could be.
But the royal family hasn't said anything, and like the Queen hasn't appeared in like many things that she was supposed to.
I think she's fighting for her life. That's for sure.
Oh, bro! I hope she hasn't passed, bro.
No, I think she's fighting for her life. That's for sure, bro. But in terms of the future, I don't know what Putin wants from Ukraine. Yeah. I think the thing that makes the most sense, like the thing that helped me understand it, is like see it from his perspective. Having a country of 44 million people going from a reliable ally to reliable enemy is not acceptable.
No.
If you're trying to be what Putin wants from Russia,
Shit, are you gonna switch up and become Russia at some point, bro?
No, never, bro.
Hey, yo. Yeah,
never. Okay. But like, because my brother also called me and he knows a lot about history and he just didn't understand why he was doing it, what there is to gain from it financially. Like, how is he making money from this? He asked me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have an answer. Yeah. Because he's losing so much from this. An offensive war is always harder than a defensive.
Yeah.
So he's losing more people. Then he's losing support from the Russian people. He's losing any potential peaceful collaboration with Ukraine.
Yeah.
Because the people are going to hate him forever now.
Yeah.
And he's risking the collapse of his country because he's getting sanctioned and maybe might even instigate a war with the West. So it's crazy to think about what he might getting out of this. He had I think two things that I noticed of interest. One is that you know what Chernobyl is? Yeah. So when they crossed over to Ukraine, and like right when they crossed over, one of the first reports I was reading is the Russian army like as quickly as possible went straight for Chernobyl, the nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
Which has nothing there of value in theory.
Yeah.
But Russia built the dome over it. Putin built the dome over it.
Oh, but they've already taken over Chernobyl, no?
Yeah. But what they were so like aggressive and eager to take Chernobyl makes no sense to me, because that's just a hazard.
Yeah.
But Putin was the one who built the dome over it, like way back.
Yeah.
So it's conspiratorial, and I don't think that's the case. But maybe he has something functioning there. I don't think so, but that could be. But Kelly actually brought up that she thinks that's a sign that he's been planning this for a very long time, for over 10, 15 years. If all the way back then he built the dome around Chernobyl, which is a huge investment, it was probably because he once upon a time wanted Ukraine, or knew that once upon a time he would take Ukraine.
Yeah, but then what would he do with Chernobyl?
No, nothing. But building the dome stops radioactive activity, so it's just taking care of your own future lands.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So he was protecting what he saw as the future part of Russia, I guess, which is insane if he's been planning it for that long.
I mean, I guess we'll see now, no? He's gonna eventually, whatever happens, if Ukraine does surrender or if Putin does take over Ukraine, I guess he's gonna say why he wanted Ukraine for so long. Yeah,
he's gonna show. He's gonna show what he's gonna do. I think he's gonna start by killing a bunch of people he doesn't like in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Or maybe not killing, but at least imprisoning them, making them disappear.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what he does after that. If he sets up a puppet government that's more friendly pro-Russia, if he just makes it part of Russia, I really don't know. I think most likely he's going to put in a puppet government.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it's not going to work in Ukraine because the Ukrainian people overthrew their last pro-Russian government. So they're going to do that shit again. And ×2 this time. But the other thing of interest that piqued my interest was that he had a meeting with all the Russian business leaders.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he said, but I think whatever he said in that meeting can explain a lot. Because now Europe is discussing completely taking Russia out of the financial system of the West.
Yeah.
Which means the payment system, which is the SWIFT bank payment system, would not be allowed to interact with Russia.
Yeah.
So that means they can't do trade or buy things from the West or sell things to the West or buy and trade stocks or anything. China has their own SWIFT that they've been working on.
Yeah, WeChat, no?
No. What? WeChat? No, bro. This is like financial infrastructure, bro.
I'm sure.
It's WeChat. That's
100% they still use WeChat for sending stuff over.
Money.
Over countries.
Yeah. But that's different, bro.
Nah, it's completely similar.
But they got another thing equivalent to the SWIFT,
Yeah.
And so Russia could be bargaining here. A complete decoupling from the Western finance system, and then a recoupling to the Chinese, and that's the only way that they would escape without complete economic collapse, I think. So yeah, that's in terms of what the future holds. It's really, really murky and conspiratorial even, because as I said, until a week ago nobody believed this was going to happen.
But you know what I think though?
What do you think?
I think that if Ukraine held out, there is going to be debts, a lot of debts, but I think in the end Ukraine's going to win. I hope.
You think Ukraine's going to win?
I think Ukraine can hold out.
It might be, dude. I read some reports about the poor Russian troops who have been captured by Ukrainians, and they're being interviewed. A lot of the Russian troops didn't even know they were going to Ukraine, and they're young boys, or 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
There is not this sense of Russian nationalism that there was back in the Soviet Union. There is not a consistent propaganda belief, system. People don't buy it as much anymore. They still buy it, but not as much. Their own military is not convinced in what they're doing. And yeah, maybe with the sanctions, with pressure internally, and with the lack of motivation from the military, it could be that Ukraine holds out a lot longer than we thought.
Because also understandably, the Russian military, they themselves, they don't know what they're fighting for.
Yeah, they don't. And they didn't even know they were going to do this until a few days ago, because Putin, the way he runs his country is so sleazy and so authoritarian that, many of the people of the country are never part of his plans, really. They're just pawns,
Yeah.
Including the military, it seems. Which is why they're not being as effective as he'd hoped as well, I think. Yeah, man, but China has their own ambitions. They want to take Taiwan this year. I think I talked about that.
They actually said went out and said that.
No, but that's my prediction that they're going for it, and this was my prediction for like a few months now.
Yeah, but also they 100% do want Taiwan. So
yeah, they want Taiwan.
When they're going
and what I was thinking is that it's gonna happen this year.
Yeah. Do you think Taiwan also has a Twitter page where they're like
sending memes?
Have the same meme as Ukraine, but it's like pain in the ass, fucking having China as your neighbor.
Pain in the ass. Having China as your neighbor. That does sound like a pain in the ass, bro.
Yeah.
Like what do we complain about? We have like the UK that left the EU and stuff, but like whatever, bro.
Yeah.
Fun
you know what would be like not funny, but like you know what would be nice is like if in one of these podcasts what we had was if eventually China does take over Taiwan, is that we interview a Chinese person and be like, what do you think about it?
Yes, of course, bro.
Because like not Silvio, Marco probably will be a good person. Yeah,
could be.
Marco could be.
Could be. I struggle to find Chinese people. There's not a lot of them.
You know what? In my uni, it does feel like it. Like I've not seen one Chinese.
No,
person.
me neither.
Yeah.
And they're actually kind of disappearing from the international student.
Even though they were like statistically
community.
Last year, like the top number one.
But they've been retracting a bit.
Yeah, Italians were number 3. So
really?
Shout out.
Yeah, because nobody wants to study in Italy, bro. Here we are.
It's not even about studies. Like in Italy, at least what I've heard is from like a bunch of Italian community that I've like met is they just come here to work and then they go over at the summer.
Yeah.
In the summer in Italy and enjoy life.
Yeah.
Right now at work.
Because life here it's good to work, but life is not enjoyable.
No. I mean, is it good here to work? Because like the 2 Italians that work full time, like they left uni back home, they came here just to work. They work full time. They work almost every day, long hours, like 8 hours, 10 hours almost. They fucking hate it, but they're still doing it because like they see the money at the end of the day. Yeah.
Bro, because you would have to work just as hard, if not harder, in Italy for half or 1/3 of the pay.
Yeah.
So you know,
understandable.
Yeah. If you've done that job, then this is gonna seem better to you.
Yeah. China and Taiwan.
I tried thinking about if we pair up the two sides here, who's gonna win the world war if it breaks out to that.
China and Russia.
Yeah.
China and Russia.
It's not looking good, bro, because the West is not as strong as you might think it is, you know?
Yeah.
I think we've got this idea that the West is incredibly strong and we've been the superpower, so we're always going to be it. But we really need to look out. And I hate Macron like nothing else.
Yeah.
But he's one of the only people that has been delivering good speeches on this for a long time about how Europe needs a fucking army.
Yeah.
And we need to be independent from the US because, make no mistakes, our actions around the world have led to this point.
Yeah.
If we have been the sole superpower for the last 80 years and now there's war in Europe, it's also our fault. We cannot blame it only on Russia.
No, of course.
Yeah. And so in Europe, we have 2 militaries we can count on, the French and the British. The French are going to surrender first chance they get. The British are not going to fight for Europe.
No.
They're going to fight for their own homeland.
Yeah.
Maybe for Europe.
Yeah.
Germany basically has no military because we can't trust them.
Yeah.
Italy doesn't really have a military, but it does, but it's not that strong.
No.
And so Europe is mainly protected by France and England and the British. And that doesn't compare to the Russian-Chinese alliance at all.
They're built different, bro.
Yeah.
And like if you compare the numbers, the sheer numbers of people that they have alone is like...
Yeah, Russia not that much anymore, but if you're comparing... Well, yeah, if you compare China and India together, have like over like half the world, I think. Not over half the world, but about half the world, like 3 billion.
I don't remember if he said this in the previous one, but where do you think India's gonna join?
Yeah, so that I was confusing that earlier, but I think they're most likely gonna... Here's the thing, the Indians don't like the Chinese, but they live right beside them, so they're scared shitless of them.
Yeah.
So they fear them. At the same time, they also hate the British.
Yeah.
And so the fear of the Chinese and the hate towards the British might make them fall in line with the Chinese. And they're also just geographically in a good place where that would make sense for them. Yeah. And I don't think we're going to be able to get India to fight for us this time.
Yeah.
And so then what you end up having is the East is very complicated because they don't have natural incentives to, or like naturally they wouldn't like each other. If you lob in, let's say, Iran, Russia, China, India, for example. These are 4 countries that usually would not like to collaborate. Maybe China and Russia a bit.
Yeah.
But for example, in China, there's a genocide against Uyghur Muslims.
Yeah.
Iran says they don't should be the opposite of that. Iran is also against any imperial country, so that includes mainly Russia, but now also China. But yet they're still going to align with them.
Yeah.
India doesn't like China, has nothing to do with Iran, and they're also persecuting Muslims, but they would still collaborate because their hate for the West, justifiably so, is so much greater than their hate for each other.
But India much less so than, understandably, China.
No.
India just as much.
Yeah, because of colonialism, bro.
Okay.
They had to fight hard to get their independence, and since then we've been messing around with them a little bit too.
Yeah.
For example, with the COVID vaccines, bro, we didn't want to...
Yeah, true.
We had the chance to save 2 million Indian lives. 2 million.
Yeah.
And people were dying on the street, and they were burning bodies to a point where the crematoriums were exploding from the heat.
Yeah.
The metal was bending. Yeah. And for and the vaccines that we were receiving here in Europe were being made in India.
Yeah.
But because they don't have the patent, we get to distribute them to our citizens and not to India.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised if the Indians join the Chinese side when we refuse to save them.
Fully understandable.
Yeah. And the problem is the way we've acted is don't be surprised when you run out of allies and you seem to be piling enemies on top of enemies with the way that we behave ourselves. And it's all fun and games when you're in the world's sole superpower, but that's not the case anymore. Future prospects is pointing towards a collapse of the Western empire.
Yeah.
Because it's led by America and they're incompetent and we're leading our economies off a cliff.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's no doubt that China will eventually, whether it's 10, 100, 1,000 years from now, become the world superpower.
Yeah.
So even if you're on the fence, like Italy was in the last World War, you're going to throw your flag in with the side you think is going to win.
Yeah.
And that's more and more China and less the West.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most countries are not on the fence because we fucked them over so hard that they resonate with the feeling of anti-West.
Do you reckon that if this does spill over from Russia and Ukraine and it does move further out, do you reckon it's ever going to move into USA, like into US territory soil?
It will never move into US territory soil because although Russia has a big military, it's not militarily it would be a disaster for them to go into US. If China was to, it's the same thing for them. They're already so busy fighting wars on their own regions that it doesn't make sense. And you know how we talked about Ukraine arming citizens by just handing out guns on the street. America per citizen is the most armed group of people ever. The American civilians, as much as we like to make fun of them, the civilians living in America are the hardest ones to control and to get in line and to fight.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to fight you with homemade Molotov cocktails. They're going to fight you with real machine gun weaponry and like mounted onto cars and whatever the fuck these rednecks are getting up
America's ready.
Yeah.
America's ready.
So I think that's kind of the idea of the NRA. What the fuck? RNA? What the fuck are they called? NRA?
What? DNA?
No, bro.
What? What are you trying to say?
Huh? The NSA? No.
NSA?
No, the pro-gun group in America.
The pro-guns.
Yeah, the
lobbyists.
Yeah, there's like this union. I don't know what it's called.
I have
something with NRNA, but it's not in that order.
I have no idea what they're called.
It's fine, bro. People will know.
I hope.
But yeah.
But they're just people that like guns.
But the idea of like we need to make Americans own as many guns as possible, no matter the repercussions, no matter the school shootings, pays off enormously in a war because nobody can ever invade you.
Yeah. And
America's at that point where no country is going to be able to invade America, but that doesn't mean they can't lose the war because America spends like 6-8 times as much as the next 3 countries combined on their military, but it's incredibly corrupt. Yeah. A lot of that spending goes to people who are not part of the military or like not actively participating in the military. They're just, collecting a check. And they're quite incompetent as well at what they do, as we saw in Afghanistan. So really, Europe is relying on America to save our asses. And this time they might not be able to because they're so incompetent. And we ourselves haven't looked that in the eyes seriously, except for Macron. He's the only guy who's like seriously looked at that. What's up?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Podcast.
bro.
Sorry.
No, almost finished, man. Don't worry.
Sorry, man.
No.
Oh, what is it? Can you put the pizzas in the oven?
Pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 2 of them.
2?
Yeah. And then later we make more.
Alright, sorry about the roomy break. How's it going, by the way, in the house?
Fucking amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alright.
But the lights for my plants broke though.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Well, how did that happen?
I just one day decided to quit.
Really?
Yeah.
Fully?
Yeah. So now I need to buy new ones.
Knew what?
Lights.
Wait, you decided to quit, or the lights decided to quit?
Lights decided to quit.
Oh, okay. I thought you decided to quit.
No.
Okay.
Why would I quit?
Yeah, that's what I was like. What the
Mama
fuck?
ain't raised no quitter, bro.
Yeah, I know. You're a gardener, bro. That's
Uh-huh.
what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like gardening.
Bro, can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
If you were in Ukraine, would you have taken one of the guns and would you have started shooting the Russians?
My first line of thought would have been to try and flee.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't able to flee in that time, and they were like, you know what, fight for my country, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I'm taking a gun and I'm going. Saying my goodbyes, and yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
And do you think you could pull that trigger?
Could I pull that? 100%, yes. It's death or it's do or die. It's do or die. So would I rather die or would I rather kill? So
Do you see a difference between the theory of how you think you would react, or how you would want yourself to react, and how you would actually react?
Oh, I'd be scared shitless, of course, 100%.
But I don't know if my fear would block my ability to act, you know?
Because here's the thing, if I could, 100% every time I choose peace over war. But if I was in the exact same situation as Ukraine, where like I couldn't flee to somewhere to
because
safety,
they made it illegal,
you know, and they're making me fight, and I'm just waiting for the day, you know, that fucking Russia bombs me or kills me. I'd much rather try and like get some revenge at least by like trying to get something back.
Yeah, I was thinking the same, and you know, the media kind of gets you in that line of thinking.
Yeah.
I feel like, but then when you hear the interviews of the Russian side soldiers, which is what we're not hearing a lot at all, actually, I think it's like they're just kids too who don't know what they're doing, and just got like some of them are from a fucking village of like 10 people, you know.
Yeah.
Who just like, oh, okay, I guess there's a way to make money. We're doing drills in Belarus now, and oh shit, now we're attacking Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they don't know what they're doing either, you know, and they
Yeah.
only get fed the propaganda from the.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they're still gonna pull the trigger because like they did join the military, and that is their job, and that is what
So
they're doing,
yeah,
so
at that point you're confronted with a problem that you didn't create, but it's too late for you to fix.
it's too late to pull out.
And if you don't fix it, it's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
So the only thing you can do is kill it back.
Yeah.
Jesus, bro. No, because I find that horrifying, man.
It is terribly horrifying.
Yeah, I find
But
that horrifying.
once you come to terms with the fact that maybe you are going to die, you're just okay with it, and you just have to do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I've always said I would never fight in war, and I'm a pacifist, but if I always said with the exception of if Germany ever invaded Denmark again.
No, but again,
and that was more of a joke than anything. But if I'm defending, if other people are coming onto the soil where like you grew up and you know it's your country and there's no question about it, then in that situation it changes it a bit for me.
But again, here's the thing: picking up a gun is going to be the last thing that I'm ever going to do. Because like, as of right now, in Ukraine, you know, people I have the choice of picking up a gun.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't pick up a gun at this point.
No?
No, I'd still be trying to flee. I'd still be trying to run. Picking up a gun is going to be my
What if you
last resort.
Bro, if on the way to the border they're taking you out the car, bro.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing: I'm going to try and hide out in Ukraine if possible. Like, just try and live.
Yeah?
Yeah, without having to pull that trigger.
And then what point does that change? Because if you keep waiting and they take the country, then it's going to be too late to do anything anyways.
Here's the thing: if they do take the country,
and without you fighting, then I guess
and without me fighting,
that's a success for you.
It is a success for me in the sense that like with my own life included, some lives have been saved, and that's already a bigger plus than, you know.
Yeah, you didn't kill anybody, nobody killed you.
Yeah,
and that's a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. The exact last resort would be, you know, if Putin came out and said, yeah, I'm just gonna flat out kill everybody. I'm like, okay, fine, I'm taking.
Oh, if they start doing Nazi type shit.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, straight up, I'm just taking a gun.
If they're doing what they're doing now, which is like we're going mainly for the military, but we don't mind
taking
killing
a couple
civilians.
I'm gonna push my luck and see that hope that I'm.
It's not a couple, bro. It's hundreds.
Yeah, I know, but.
Yeah, then you're gonna push your luck still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to push my luck.
Yeah, fair. Like if Nazi Germany came to your door, then you would fight.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because you know they don't let you live.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Bro, I was thinking about this. You know how like scared we're supposed to be of the Russian military. I would rather right now have to interact with the Russian military than some factions of the Ukrainian military, you know?
Yeah.
Bro, imagine the neo-Nazis in the Ukrainian military. They would shoot you and me on the spot, bro.
True.
The Russians wouldn't, because they're not necessarily racist, but neo-Nazis are, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
If anything, with the Russians, you just sit down, grab a drink, have fun, and
there's an opportunity.
There's an opportunity for
that they would respect us, but neo-Nazis would not.
Nah.
Which I think is fucked up. Yeah. That now I'm in line and tomorrow I'm gonna go protest for these neo-Nazis, bro.
Should we do the shout-outs that we usually do?
I don't know, bro. Let's see. Yeah, I just want to say one last thing.
Yeah.
A call to action. I'm gonna go and protest tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're coming too?
Yeah.
Yes, thank God, bro. I was gonna ask you to join on the
I was gonna.
You already decided, yeah. And when I say protest, okay, look, I'm a realist, so I'm not an optimist. I don't think our protest tomorrow is gonna have a real impact.
No.
But in the history books, look, I studied the same history books that most of our world leaders today grew up on. I studied the same books in similar classes with similar perspectives, and it matters when you're deciding your future, what the past did. And if the past, let's say everything goes wrong for us, at least in the future, when they look at the history books, they're going to see that war was horrible, not only because of all the civilians who died, but the civilians didn't even want it in the first place. And if we go and protest tomorrow against the concept of war in general, I think that's already a success. And secondly, I would protest on stronger sanctions against Russia, and particularly the ones that target people up in higher positions of power and with more money, such as the oligarchs and Putin. And this is a very controversial statement, because people are saying that, well, with sanctions, you're going to hurt the Russian people more than anything. And sanctions is a way of escalation. But I think we're at a point now where escalation is what we've chosen. And if we don't choose escalation, our leaders will choose it for us anyways. And even if our leaders don't choose it, there's a 90% chance that Russia's leader will choose escalation. Mm-hmm. So it's going to hurt the Russian people, but I hope it hurts their government as well. And I hope that together with pressure of Russian people, we can cripple the Russian economy and force them into a revolution or some sort of regime change. Mm-hmm. Because the alternative from starvation, dear Russian brothers and sisters, is a bullet.
Yeah.
Whether it's flying from your side to our side or from our side to yours.
Yeah.
That is the alternative.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible thing, and I understand if you don't support sanctions, but that's my position, and I urge everyone to protest in favor of. We have reached the point where we could either concede Ukraine or escalate into world war, and we have clearly chosen to escalate into world war while also conceding Ukraine, which is why this was the worst of both worlds. Again, we could have done diplomacy, but we didn't. And yeah, I don't. What do you think about the sanctions? Because it hasn't worked historically.
Mm-hmm. I think it's not going to work now either. I think it's just going to piss Putin off even more, and he's just going to go out and say, yes, fuck it, World War III.
Yeah, but like there's this theory with capitalism that it brings peace, because when we rely on each other and stick to peace, it's better for business for the both of us.
Yeah.
The flip side of that argument is naturally that if we don't choose peace and we choose violence, it's worse for our economies. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's responsible to, in times of war, when peace is not being upheld, to continue capitalism.
But here's the thing: when Putin is in the position that he's at, and realistically he is going to live through this, he has literally nothing to lose but his troops.
Yeah.
And his people, and maybe his country.
Yeah. And his power.
Yeah, and realistically, he's thinking that he's going to win, and if not, he's going to try to win, and it's kind of like an all-out for him. So if he does win, he has everything to gain, and if he does lose, he just ends himself.
He's already, like, in his own soul, he's already lost everything that he would need, he has to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I mean, I still think that, like, you gotta show an example that if you choose hostility, we don't continue trading with you, even if it hurts our own economies. Mm-hmm. But that's how it is. Violence hurts economies, and that's why we don't choose violence. And you have to prove that. You have to take action to prove that. And you do that through sanctions and halting of trade. even if though it might hurt the Russian population, which I find horrible. And then I think we need to be responsible, because at some point, if we cause pain to Russia, I would urge the UN and such to send humanitarian aid to the Russian people, and not, of course, the Russian government, but to treat the Russian people as our own when we can. And if we ever end up invading Russia as a response to this, that we also don't kill civilians, and that we don't do what we've done with every other country, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's easy when you have an enemy now that's as big as Russia and China to like be like, okay, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and not like rules don't apply to me because I'm fighting a justified enemy. But let's remember not to do that, you know?
Yeah.
I think I'm out of things to say, bro. I think that was it.
I've only got stuff unrelated to say to this, but
let's save it for another time, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did an hour already.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry it was mostly me, but you know how it is.
it do be like that sometimes.
It do be like that sometimes.
If it's gotta be informative, it's gotta be informative. And that's what we tried to do for this one.
Yeah,
for it to be informative.
What did you think of my points of view though? Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes hella sense, yeah.
I feel like we're quite often like in agreement, no?
You should try and get like, though, realistically, like get a job in like either not the news, or like try and create something of your own where like it's news but it's just unbiased, unfiltered as fuck.
Yeah, and I think
stuff.
you know, have you watched Cal Kalinske before? That's the guy that Calvin was going on about.
Yeah, is he the guy that
he sits in his laptop, he has short hair, and then he like has a green sign usually.
Yeah, but I've never listened to him, is the thing.
Okay, but you know.
Yeah, I do know.
Yeah, like I would like to do something like his, but with a perspective from Europe, because I don't know if we have that yet. Like
I don't know, maybe that's something you can look into.
Yeah,
you can look into that.
Could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just wanted to bring this little bit of perspective. Don't be surprised when the world doesn't believe you.
Yeah.
And you know, we pray for Ukraine to resist. Although I would also find it acceptable if they surrender now.
Yeah.
In the vision of peace. And the future is very unpredictable right now, even for the master predictor, myself.
But you know what it is? There's going to
it?
be hella people tomorrow at the protest that don't know what they're protesting for.
That's the problem, innit?
It's like more than half are going to be like, yeah, they don't even know what's happening, but they're just there.
Yeah, and you just want to support Ukraine, but you don't really know the solution.
Yeah.
I feel like that's because we haven't had this like big picture. You know?
And you know, if you did hold up a poster, if you made a poster that says like, you know, Ukraine surrender for peace or some shit like that, and
that would start.
That might be like a logical way of ending it, or like doing stuff. But people would pull up to you and beef just because like, they're like, no, but Ukraine.
That's why I'm not going with any sides. And all I'm hoping for is that somebody interviews me, because then like.
yeah. Now if they interview me, like I'm also I know so.
Yeah. No, but like a serious approach to this would be like giving the East, the world in general, and the Russian people a reason to believe in the West. And we could do that by saying, look, we're going to pull out of all these countries we shouldn't be in. We're going to start acting in an actual humanitarian way. We're going to condemn the breaking of international law across the board, not only when it's in our enemies. And you can take us seriously. And I think it's too late to do that, but that's what it would take.
Yeah.
And had we done that, I don't think Putin would have been able to attack Ukraine in the same way. And the Russian people would be fighting much harder than they are now against their own government, even though they are fighting. And I wish them to continue.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Is this the last podcast we do, by the way?
For a bit. We're
going to focus on videos.
We're going to focus on videos now, see how that does.
We were supposed to film our first video today on a more, funny topic, but we had to.
No. It wasn't going to be today. We're going to plan it today.
Yeah. But we wanted to do this now and get this out to you guys.
Because this is fairly important, and it is in a way not really goodbye, but for a while you're not going to get a podcast.
Yeah, but then you get to see us and everything.
Yeah.
And plus those get more views.
Yeah.
So it's all good. Good.
But I mean, it gets more views, but rightfully so, because it takes more effort as well.
Yeah. And then we're gonna publish less, but higher effort, higher quality.
It's gonna be like once a month we said, or twice a month.
I think once a month is good. Yeah. Maybe twice a month if we can keep up with it, but once a month for sure.
Yeah.
Fair
dues.
Fair dues.
Shout outs.
I don't. Yeah, if you want to, you can do some shout outs.
Shout out Kelvin. I feel like we need to keep that shout out going.
Shout out Marco
Ren. Shout out
Silvio.
No shout outs to Silvio. None.
Because he's Chinese, or
No, because he's Italian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, shout out Daniel.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this one. I put a lot of effort into my geopolitics. Shout out, fuck it, bro. Shout out Kelly as well.
Shout out Philip.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Shout out Philip.
Yeah.
Shout out. Hey, yo, is that my hat?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, you just noticed.
No, I don't know, but like I thought it'd be funny that I said at the end.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
How long have you had this hat for now? Like 2 weeks now?
For about 2 weeks now. Yeah.
Can I have it back?
Yeah, of course.
But Philip wanted to buy it, no?
Yeah, Philip did want to buy it. He liked it so much.
Next time I go to Bolivia, I'm gonna bring back.
Bro, buy like 50 hats in Bolivia and bring them
Did you
back.
know my dad and all of my dad's friends? They used to do this every time they went to South America, and then they would sell it in the open market, like.
Because bro, you know what it is? These hats in Amsterdam, especially in Amsterdam, in a place like Amsterdam, people love this shit.
Yeah,
love the hat.
But I will say this was the only hat with these colors.
Okay.
And I knew it was the fucking sickest one. No.
Okay. Oh, but the next time you have someone go to Bolivia, or like you.
Do you think it would work with like other colors too?
Of course.
Or is it the okay? So it's not the colors. It's just
it's the patterns as well. The pattern, the design. Yeah.
Because the patterns and the design looks normal to me, because I'm Bolivian.
Yeah.
It was the colors that caught my eye.
The pattern is like.
But the pattern is okay.
Quite different as well. You know, you don't get hats like this anywhere.
Okay. Fair.
You know, I was surprised. Like literally the first day you gave me, like we went to a gathering of sorts, and at the gathering, like.
Bro, if you're gonna start boasting about female interaction.
No. I'm just gonna say people just came up and like said stuff about the hat.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, nice hat. I'm like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah. Did you notice? No, nothing.
Huh?
I was gonna say, did you notice Kelly's makeup today?
Is it blue now?
Yeah, and yellow.
And
it's Ukraine, bro.
That is yellow. Okay, yeah.
It's Ukraine.
I just noticed actually.
Yeah, no, I thought it was.
I noticed the makeup, but like I didn't notice the colors.
Yeah. I thought it was funny, but yeah, she has to work tomorrow, so she can't do that. But we can get breakfast first.
Oh my god! Thank the Lord, I don't have work tomorrow.
I do, but I'm calling in sick, and I'm telling them I got my booster, and that's why.
I need to get my booster at some point as well, though.
I got it yesterday, bro. I'm all boosted up.
Bro, this whole week I've worked, like, I have not had the time to go.
Bro, ever since I got my booster, bro, I'm like a fucking magnet. Like, metal things just stick to me. I don't know what to do about it, bro.
I can't believe I still have this on my laptop, but yeah.
Yeah, League of Legends.
Yeah.
What are you doing with CSGO?
CSGO. I just downloaded it to play hide and seek last year with like.
Oh, I downloaded it last night so I could practice.
No,
I'm kidding.
No, but this game is a new one that I downloaded.
What's that?
Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel.
Oh yeah,
Kevin maybe downloaded it.
It
is quite good.
You got food from me, no?
Yeah, it's waiting downstairs. Yeah. I hope he put it in the oven.
Yeah,
I'm praying he put it in the oven. Yeah.
Alright, bro. Let's peace out, bro.
Yeah. Peace.
Peace.
We want peace and justice for Ukraine.
Yeah, peace and justice. Let's go.
Standing on the shore, looking into the horizon. One by one, the waves whisper help, we're dying. Witnesses will not find the peace among the clueless. Listening to Bowie sing, the word is not something you can change.